Good morning. Boy, I hope wherever you are and you're watching this morning, you're able to stay warm and stay out of the weather because it is cold outside. Where I am today, it's 13 degrees right now. Today, I think it's supposed to get up to 34 today. Hey, heat wave. Good morning to you, Francie, and to Gemma. Welcome to the channel membership, Francie. Keep in mind there is an entire playlist of just videos that will never be released to the general public that you'll find on my dashboard. You scroll down, you'll see a whole thing of like just videos, shorts, live streams of channel member only content. All full length videos that I release, every channel member gets a 24-hour advanced, early access to watch them. And then once a month, I do a channel member live stream only once a month. It is 15 below zero where you are, Francie. Oh boy, I don't want to be there. Hope all is well, Will. I'm cold. Even with the heat on all night long in here, the the thermometer on the wall says that it is 28 degrees in here right now. I've got one space heater here, and I've got another one over there on top of the central heat and air going. Trying to stay warm. YouTube just decided to tell my membership needs to be renewed, so I've renewed it. Well, thank you. Yeah, I've been like, there's certain channels, Gemma, that I've been a member of, I don't know, 5, 6 years. And constantly, they're it's about once, well, every year or so. It never notifies me when the membership, is about to expire. It happens. It happens. I don't know why, but it just, I don't know. Maybe if the whole system gets complacent and it just doesn't bother to tell me. Oh, it's like I've been a member of Duty Ron's since pretty much, since the Duty Ron's been on YouTube and offered channel membership. But if you look at the total length of time, I think it reset like, and now says I've only been a member for like 54 months. I've never expired. I don't know why. This day in serial killer history. Theodore Robert Bundy was born November 24th, 1946, and died January 24th, 1989. On this day in serial killer history. That's the scroll that's going by on the bottom of the screen there. It's all good. Just happy to reminded you. Yeah. Sometimes it can be hard to keep up with them too. I know there's certain channels that I don't even watch anymore, and I've forgotten that I was a channel member of. Good morning, Kitty Q. Change to all messages. As Kitty Q reminds people, make sure you are on live chat or all messages, not top chat. And for the love of God, I have no idea why that's even an option. You would think that they would just default it to live, and then if you want to see top messages, you could click on that. Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to a lot of people who live stream. You're the only channel I'm a member of? Ah, well, thank you. I never understood what top chat is all about. It doesn't make sense to me. I guess maybe if you're watching, later on, maybe you want to see the most popular, message. I don't know. I know for myself when I watch live streams, I never click on a message and thumb up a mess, give a heart or whatever to a message. But that's just me. I enjoy just watching the content of the creator. I don't most times I don't even have or watch the messages at all unless they're overlaid, which drives me nuts. Excuse me. I think, but back to channel memberships, I think I'm probably member of 15. If I had to guess, 15 channel memberships. Um, and there's a wide diversity of different types of content that I'm a channel member of. Some automotive, some home renovation channels, true crime channels. It's a little bit of everything. It's not just it's just what interests me, and what the content creator is covering. I've just read about Bundy at the bottom of your screen. You were 1 year old when he died. He electrocuted in the state of Florida on this day, 1989. Burn Bundy Burn. I do believe Kitiku has a T-shirt from that event. I've turned off membership on my channel. I've got no content from members only. Oh, I'll tell you something along that lines, Gemma. Um, I've got people who you'll never see here in in the comment section. You'll never see them comment on a video. I don't think that they've watched any of my content in probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years, but they still pay for a membership with Patreon. It's only 99 cents a month, but they still pay it every month. I don't know why. A couple of them I know I've had disputes with in the past, but yet they still pay that 99 cents a month to be a member, on Patreon. You love your Burn T-shirt. Channel membership though is one of those things. So to end that part of the conversation, a lot of creators we're up in the air on if we'll keep it. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep it. I don't think I'm going to do away with it at any time because I still like making the content for it. I just don't like how YouTube is advertising it to the general public. When you go to search for a video, on a certain subject matter, be it Robert DeSalvo, Ted Bundy, or whatever. The last thing, if you're not a channel member, the last thing you want to see is videos that are behind a paywall. That's the last thing you want to do because it leaves a negative, opinion in most people's eyes of the creator. Why would I want to pay just to watch a video? Because everybody assumes that YouTube is free and it must be free to make, and therefore, I don't want to pay to see it, and it's not true. But I mean, that's what a lot of people's opinions of YouTube is. It was free to join. It was free to watch videos. I shouldn't have to pay anything. So, all right, babbling on here. Let's get page 2 news going. This is the 292nd episode of Page 2 News. Now with 1.34% more crazy political speeches and more face punching. Shout out to last week's supporters of this content, those who gave super chats, purchased merchandise, gifted channel memberships. Margaret L. gifted 10 channel memberships last week. Sammy, my niece, gave me a super thanks on one of my videos on last week. Frankie M. Also a super thanks, and Borrow, who actually has a YouTube channel. I removed their name because they actually, when they do super chats and stuff like that, it always comes up as their channel name, but Borrow is just part of their actual channel name. But anyways, they purchased one of my 2025, which I didn't even know I still had available on on Teespring. But they purchased a 2025 T-shirt, and it actually says 2025. And I reached out to them and I asked them if they want me to update that to the 2026 one. They said no, they wanted the 2025 one. Oh well, but thank you anyways to everyone who did. I'll also want to give a shout out to those new subscribers who gave last week's stream a thumbs up. It's free to support the work by subscribing and leaving a comment, and I really appreciate it. Viewer discretion is strongly advised for any content you see on this YouTube channel. This morning show and crime recap strictly adheres to verified factual evidence. All information presented is sourced from reputable agencies such as the FBI, Department of Justice, and whenever applicable, the Interpol and Scotland Yard. We do not engage in conspiracy theory speculation or unverified claims about what may have occurred. If you are looking for that type of content, this program may not be the right fit for you. Thank you for your understanding and have a great day. The party that told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears, it was their final, most essential command. That is from George Orwell's 1984. And it's more fitting today than ever. Do you really know what's going on? Do you care yet? You should care a lot. First and only story this week. So last week, I posted to the community tab a serious question that I could not find the answer to. And I know a lot of people don't follow, or even read what is on the community tab. If you ever want to know what's going on with the channel, if a live stream's not going to happen, if a new video is coming out soon, I post all this stuff to the community tab. And in advance of like what the trivia subject is for this coming Sunday, I post that before the trivia night, so you know what it is. The subject matter will be. In case you missed that post, this Sunday's trivia is the Highway Phantom, or the always known as the Freeway Phantom. It's going by two different names, Freeway or Highway Phantom. These are unsolved murders that took place. But that's the subject matter for tomorrow night's trivia. But back to my other post. I had a serious question I wanted to know about was, can Native Americans, Cherokee, Lakota, can they be, not only arrested, detained, prosecuted for, immigration, issues, can they be deported? And it's a serious question. When you actually sit down and think about the question itself, can they actually be deported? And can they be arrested and prosecuted? Here is the actual question that I posted, was for anyone with a law degree, when it comes to ICE detainment and deportation, what are the laws around detaining and deporting of Native Americans, since they are sovereign citizens inside of the United States? I wanted to know this, and every time I tried to research the question, I kept on getting The internet searches kept on sending me to the sovereign citizens movement and not answering the question about Native Americans. So I made a video just for channel members that is on the channel members only playlist that you can find. But I thought I'd go into content, and give context to everybody now if you're watching this live stream, so you will know what is the actual answer to that. Can those who are Native Americans, can they be detained? Can they be prosecuted for immigration crimes, particularly because that's what the question's about? And can they be deported? Now you would think to yourself, well, if you're an American citizen, you cannot be deported. I hate to break the bad news to you, but we've already deported over 200 individuals who are American citizens. 200. They don't know the actual number. Is it 210? Is it 203? It's over 200. That's all the Department of Justice will say, is they've mistakenly deported over 200 individuals who are American citizens. Were these individuals born here and that's how they got their birthright citizenship? Or did they immigrate here legally, go through the process, and then swear to uphold the Constitution and became American citizens? We don't know. We'd have to go in and dive into each and every one of those 200. But regardless, they were American citizens and they were deported by mistake, but it still happens. When you start rounding up thousands and thousands of individuals, there are going to be those few, 1% or less than 1% that get caught up in the dragnet. Now, to Native Americans, they are dual citizenship. They are sovereign citizens within their own nation inside of the United States. Plus, they have American citizenship. So the answer to the question is yes, Native Americans who are not U.S. citizens, especially those living in the U.S. and holding citizenship with other countries like Canada or Mexico, because here's something you may not be aware of. There are Native Americans who have dual citizenship with Canada and Mexico because their land and where they live may cross an imaginary line that we've drawn on a map. So they freely moved into Canada, or they had, as part of their lives, and there may be their reservation went into Canada at some point, and they have dual citizenship. Those individuals can be deported out of the United States if they break the law, again, in immigration law. But as a whole, no, they cannot be deported. All right, because and then key factors on that are the ability to deport someone hinges on their citizenship status. Citizenship from one country or another can be revoked. Either Canada can say, you can have your citizenship here, but we're not going to, recognize, your American citizenship, and vice versa. The United States can say, we're not going to recognize your Canadian citizenship. We're only going to recognize your American citizenship. But it all comes down to, where their actual citizenship and where they live is. Tribal sovereignty is the next part that you need to look at. While Native Americans have unique rights, federal immigration laws generally apply. Generally. That's the key part to the entire thing. But tribal members and treaty rights can affect deportation processes. So maybe there's a treaty in place for your reservation. You have land where they took the reservation, they split it in two, part in Mexico, part in the United States. Whatever it may be, that could come into effect when it, deporting of someone of Native American. The U.S. government, has broad authority in what's called plenary over immigration, meaning it can deport non-citizens for various reasons, even if they have a strong ties to the country or to tribal land. I'm going to read that again for you so you can understand it. The U.S. government has broad authority known as plenary power over immigration, meaning it can deport non citizens for various reasons, even if they have strong ties to the country or tribal land. With that said, there are Native Americans who are out there right now in the lower 48. This is not pertaining to Hawaii and Alaska, but there are in the lower 48 states who do not, as a right, and within their actual tribal council, they do not recognize that they are American citizens. They call themselves Native Americans, and they are members of their tribe and their council, but they do not recognize the United States as a whole and say I'm an American citizen. They say I'm a citizen of XYZ, whatever tribe. They have strong ties. They haven't, removed their citizenship. They haven't given it up. You know what I'm trying to get at, and but they do not recognize that because they are a sovereign citizen within the lower 48 states. They do not recognize the United States government having control or power over them. Only their tribe and their the tribal council has control and power on what they should and should not do, and they abide by the laws only set down on their tribal count by the tribal council. So there is that as well. Example for this is a Canadian First Nation person living in the US could be deported for overstaying a visa or committing a crime. Again, in the upper part of Montana and North Dakota, there are tribes that, where their tribal land crosses this imaginary line that we drew in the sand and said, that's Canada, that's America, you can't go over there. And they have to have papers in order to freely move within their own land. I mean, it was all their land before white man came along and said, yeah, this is our country. Yeah, that's their country. This was all theirs. And they didn't have, they didn't draw imaginary lines and say, well, this is the Sioux Nation, and next to that are the Lakota. We don't go over there on the other side of that hill because that's Lakota country. If the elk or the deer happens to come through there, they hunt them there. If they come over on this side, we hunt them here. They knew that that's Lakota, and they may know. I'm just using this as an example, by the way. But they didn't say, look, we can't go over there because that's Canada and this is the United States, or that's Lakota, territory, and this is Sioux, territory over here. They freely, hunted, and followed, the migration of animals. They didn't say, well, I can't go over there. That's Canada. I would have shot it over here, but now it's in Canada. So I guess that's up to the Canadian, part of us. Native Americans born in the U.S. are given immediate U.S. citizenship, even though they are members of a sovereign nation. ICE cannot detain or deport them for immigration violations underneath the treaty that was signed with all Native American tribes in 1924, which guarantees Native American citizenship. But here's where the whole wrench got thrown into the entire thing of everything that I just said to you and everything that you may learn about this. In 2025, last year, Donald Trump signed an executive order which infringes upon the 14th Amendment. And that 14th Amendment directly denies the native rights of those who were born in America. The 14th Amendment is about birthright citizenship. If you're a sovereign nation within the United States and you're Native American and you were born on tribal land, and maybe your tribe does not recognize the United States, again, like I said, have power over you, that you only follow your actual thing. Do you have the right to be a United States citizen because you were born in America? According to the executive order that he signed, he's trying to take away birthright citizenship. It says right in there, no, you're not an American. You have no American citizenship just because you were born here. Not really thinking about the context of, he may want to stop, the Latino who came across the border illegally and was born here and now has American citizenship. If you live in a sovereign nation within the United States, do you have citizenship? Not according to what he signed and how it's being pertained and how the Department of Justice is looking at his executive order. There's some good news and there's some bad news there. All right. While it does not directly target Native American citizenship, the ACLU, while reading the actual executive order that he signed, it does spell out Native Americans born in the United States, as they do not necessarily have, American citizenship. What the action of the Trump administration is taking restricts the actual citizenship. On January 20th of 2025, again, he signed this executive order. In there is a part that says the protecting the meaning and value of birthright citizenship, which seeks to strip the citizenship of children born in the United States of America if one or two of their parents are not considered Americans. We don't recognize that you're even, members of the United States of America, and we've stripped their rights away from them over and over again. We find something on their land. Hey, look, there's oil. Well, we'll just kick them off of that and make their reservation smaller. Hey, look, there's gold in them hills. Let's just take the hills from them and push them to some more useless land. We've done this over and over and over again through the history of America. But on top of it all, there's another part to that as well, is on May 12th, a memo that was written by Todd Lyons, the acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Homeland Security, seems to instruct ICE to be able to arrest, detain, deport anyone who may have citizenship through birthright citizenship. He went as far as actually laminating the actual memo itself, showing it, it's contrary to the training of ICE officers, but showing it to them, but will not allow them to have it. Another director from Board of Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security, resigned after this May 12th memo. The first one came out, but he still has it. He's showing it to training officers with ICE, saying, "Go ahead and do this. If they have birthright citizenship because they're Native American, or they have birthright citizenship because of their parents brought them here and they were born here. They came here illegally and they were born here. Deport them anyways." Yeah, that's scary. The directive for detainment and removal was directly from the Trump and the current administration. Rosanna Bernardini, an immigration attorney, said that ICE's memo represents a fundamental Fourth Amendment challenge and another chapter of the Trump administration's ignoring long-established legal precedents and acting like the legislative branch. She said that the way that the policies are being implemented and enforced are extremely concerning. Reports indicate it's been rolled out through verbal communications. Again, only verbal. Here, you can read this, but you're giving it back to me. No one is going to see these actual memos, because there are two in particular that are really worrisome. What does this have to do with Native American citizenship? The Citizenship Clause was ratified in 1868. So how people understood the clause at that time is important. In 1884, the case called Elks versus Wilkins The U.S. Supreme Court held that Native Americans born to tribal members, parents, did not qualify for birthright citizenship. Again, that was in 1884. Then in 1898, Wong Kim Ark, that was a case that came up to the Supreme Court, was reaffirmed that they did not have citizenship. That they were born Native Americans. We don't care who you were born to. You didn't have citizenship. It went all the way from 1898 to 1924 when Congress, an act of Congress and a bill passed through Congress, actually guaranteed birthright citizenship to all Native Americans born in the United States of America. Didn't matter if it was on a reservation in Alaska or in the lower 48, or if you were Hawaiian and you were born there, within a village, you were an American citizen. Now, there's another memo that is also going around where ICE has decided that they do not need warrants to enter a dwelling, a home, in violation of due process and that your constitutional rights. They say, well, we believe there's an illegal alien inside that dwelling, and they've just been kicking in the doors and going in after them. That is a completely separate thing. I'm not justifying that people, who came here illegally should stay in America. I'm saying that when it comes to people who were here before white man came, they should be citizens, and they should never, regardless if they have reservation land in Mexico or in Canada or anywhere else, that they should be considered dual citizens or anything at all, and they can be deported back to the Canadian side or the American side or whatever the situation may be. If anybody should be American, it should and be protected, it should be those who are Native American. And it's scary because right now, again, if I give you a directive and I train you how to become an ICE officer, border security officer, and I train you in one way, and then I release a memo and I verbally tell you only, we've changed the rules and this is what you're going to do. I know your training said this, but now I'm going to tell you to do this and that you can do these things. It's scary. But there is help out there. The Native American Rights Fund, that the in the link there you can click on in the blue, the USAILA, another one you can click on, and also the American Indian College Fund have written quite extensively about this question. Now, in my research for this, the video that I released to channel members, along with the answering the question to come up with the answer, can they be arrested, detained, and everything else, I reached out to two professors, constitutional lawyers, and asked them, and they're also professors, on the subject matter. Here in a nutshell is the rules when it comes to anyone who is Native American, born on the reservation, born off of the reservation. It doesn't matter if you're, let's just say you're Native American. When it comes to the laws of the land, everyone who is born in America or immigrates to America, it must adhere to the laws and the Constitution. Just because you were born on the reservation doesn't matter. The U.S. Supreme Court has already ruled that the Constitution is number one. The laws of the state and the federal government should be number one. You can't have laws that are on the reservation that trump the state laws. You can't have laws on the reservation that trump the Constitution and so forth. But everyone born in America or in America must abide by the laws of the state and the federal government and the Constitution. That's number one, overall. But to answer the question again, can Native Americans be detained, arrested, and deported? Yes, they can be arrested for immigration violations. Yes, they can go into the entire process and be prosecuted for an immigration violation. Can they be deported? The answer is no. They cannot be deported outside of the United States unless it's Canada and they have a reservation land in Canada, or they can't be deported to Mexico unless they have reservation land there. Okay? And that's in the situations where they have dual citizenship. How do we deport people right now today, regardless if they're Native American? Let's say, for an example, that you are from Honduras and you came to America illegally and you are an illegal alien in the United States, and ICE picks you up. Borderland security picks you up. They throw you into the detention center. They book you just like you committed, homicide. They take your photo, your fingerprints. They do everything else. They may give you an outfit to put on, or maybe you'll stay in your street clothes, and they lock you away until you have an immigration deportation hearing. When it comes time to send you back to Honduras, if you can prove that you have a viable reason that you cannot go back to Honduras, maybe it's you were here seeking political asylum, because if they send you back to Honduras, you're going to be murdered. So what the United States government does is they try to find at least 3 different countries that you can be deported to. Maybe, okay, you can't be sent back to Honduras because of political reason, or you'll be murdered, or whatever might be happen to you if we send you back to Honduras. Maybe we can send you to Venezuela. Maybe we can send you to Sudan, and those countries say that they'll take you. We can send you there. We don't care what happens to you once you get there. That's not our problem. Put you in a gulag. We don't care. We'll drop you off there. They can use you as for slave labor. We don't care. I mean, and that's exactly what's happening right now. But they can go and send you to one of those, or they can just decide, the United States government, instead of going through the legal channels deciding here's your 3 different countries you can be deported to, who said that they'll take you, we can just upright decide, man, why don't we just send them to Cuba? I know you're not from Cuba. I know you're from Sudan and you came to America illegal, or if you're from Korea and you got smuggled into this country illegally, we don't care. We'll just send you to Cuba, to Guantanamo Bay, or we'll send you to Venezuela, to a prison there, or whatever. There are instances also where they flew people out of the country and they vanished without due process, no attorneys, no one actually talking to them, and protecting their rights. And they flew them to other countries and they just got off the plane, and we don't care what happened to them. And eventually, just think about if that happened to you. Someone picked you up and flew you to Honduras and dropped you off at the airport. Well, we don't care what happens to you. That's not our problem. We got you out of the country. That was our problem, was getting you out of here. But that's happening right now. Could it happen with a Native American? Yeah, it could happen with anyone. They could go to a reservation tomorrow and decide we're just going to pick everybody up here, and it's on you to prove right then and there, when they can, have interaction with you, that you're an American citizen. Driver's license is not going to be proof that you are an American citizen. How would you prove? How would I prove that I'm an American citizen? I've got a driver's license on me. I don't carry around a passport and a birth certificate with me. And even then, they may not even look at those documents and say, well, you're an American citizen. Because we're in a mass rush to get people out of the country. We're not doing the due process that we should be doing. It's sad, but that's the truth. And it's happened, you can see, this entire thing has happened around the world in different administrations. It's not just us. When they decide that, they want to, remove people that are not legally allowed to be there. It's happened over and over again. I don't want people to come down and say, look, this is a Trump, bashing, administration, video or stream. This happens. You can't ramp things up, to 3,000 individuals per day, without having to step on some toes and cut some corners here and there to actually meet those quotas. So it's a lofty goal. I'll give them that. Again, if you came here illegally, I'm not saying that you have the right to stay here. But I think it's kind of, horse shit that they, and border security is waiting in the parking lot, federal, buildings at immigration hearings and waiting for people to show up for their immigration hearings, trying to do it legally. They become an American citizen and they're just rounding them up in the parking lots or just going through town and harassing people. And it's very clear we're only doing that in blue states. You're never going to see, borderland security drop, 4,000, ICE officers in Texas because it's a red state. And look at where everything's happening. Portland, blue state. I mean, Oregon's a blue state. Minnesota, blue state. Everywhere the ICE enforcement and they're dropping thousands of these officers off at, they're all blue states. There's a reason why. Unless you've buried your head in the sand, if it's very clear to anybody who just looks at a map of the United States and why are we ramping up, immigration enforcement in Minnesota? At best estimate, 300,000 illegal aliens may be in the entire state of Minnesota and Wisconsin combined. 300,000. There are 2.5 million known illegal aliens in the state of Texas. Why are we not in Texas? Why are we not, in Florida, where they know they have close to 3 million there? Right? So that's it for me on this entire subject matter. I just think that the more you know, the more informed you are, the better you're able to make an actual decision about what's really going on. Because neither side is really covering, especially the question when it comes to Native Americans and executive orders. You see some, Trump holding up something he signed with a damn Sharpie. Do you really know what's in that actual executive order? Because, there's only like a paragraph on that page, of what it is. Someone says this is an executive order for that. Do you know what's involved in that? And can the executive branch act like the legislative branch and vice versa? No, they're different branches of the government for a reason. Deport to where, Francie? The U.S. government can deport you anywhere. They're supposed to give you 3 options and ask at least 3 different countries if they're willing to take you. But they can deport, and if they're going to deport, like say a Cherokee, nation, individual, they don't even have to do that. And we've already seen that thousands of times, work out where they just like, we'll just send them here. We got a plane full of 150 people that are going to Sudan. Let's just put them on that plane, and fly them to Sudan. It's sad, but I don't agree with the people coming here illegally and then thinking they deserve to have the same rights as people who did or are citizens. I always look at it this way, Kitty Q, and everybody else out there. When the United States of America was founded, when the first settlers came here and landed on Plymouth Rock or wherever, okay, we were already invading another country. And everybody who was here, had the same rights. And then we started setting down laws, and then we became a country, the United States of America. We had rights. Everybody had the same protection. If you came here on boat number 1 or you came through Ellis Island later on, you still had the same rights. Oh, And for those who come here illegally, that's wrong. But you have to look at it on the other side. Some of these people are, they're fleeing, horrible, horrible situations, where they're being, abused and murdered and extorted. Their entire family. They're not just after, the dad to take his paycheck. They're raping and killing these children because, of they were the opposite political side. And so they flee and they're here to America for political asylum. Maybe they did it the right way. Or maybe they're like, I can't wait the 5 years to go through the process. I got to get the hell out of here now because we'll all be dead in a month. So you got to look at it from all sides. But I totally agree with you, though. If people who come here illegally shouldn't, we can't be the home for everyone anymore. There was a time and a place for that, though. I just don't like the way that we're using the illegal, the border security and ICE, particularly against those of color, as opposed to those who are illegally entering the United States from white countries. And it's scary that, all the hell. You watch border security come through, an area, and they're arresting every single brown person, or anybody of color that they can find. And they're walking right past, two white people who are here illegally because they came in from, the former Soviet bloc country. They don't ask them for papers, but they go after, the other three over here. And that actually happened at the Hyundai plant in, was it North Carolina? They arrested and rounded up everyone of Asian in the plant at that Hyundai plant, and they left everyone else that was white. And of those people who were white Caucasian people, there were I think 16 of them were here illegally from. I think they were here from Yugoslavia or some former Soviet bloc country. They've walked right past them. You still listening while driving? Gotta run to the store. Oh, well, stay safe. I don't know what the road conditions are like where you are, Kitty, but they're horrible here. Right now, we're at 20 degrees. A warming trend. Might have to get out the suntan lotion. Not. Oh, it's gonna stay this way. But this is pretty much the temperature right now. It being this cold, this is pretty much normal for us where we are. We ain't gonna get any snow, but we do have a warning for freezing rain throughout the day today and tonight. But some of the other true crime channels out there, and particularly legal channels on YouTube and on Facebook, have tackled the same question about Native Americans. Legal Eagle did it, and so did Scott Brumeister on his channel. But they've also been after that executive order from May, got signed, and it directly in that executive order says that it's stripping the birthright citizenship from Native Americans. What the hell did they do? I mean, that in case you didn't know, there are certain tribes in America and New Mexico particularly that don't have running water. They have no electricity. They have no indoor plumbing. They don't even have paved roads, dirt roads. We ignore them and we don't give them anything. The only electricity they have is from solar that they put each individual's put up on their homes. That's the only electricity they have. Good morning, Gayla. It's still dangerous for black people to drive through some southern U.S. towns. I wouldn't want to. It's dangerous for some people right now. I know where I live, it's gonna get the shit hasn't hit the fan. Sorry for my language there, but it has not hit the fan yet. But it's going to get really serious coming this summer because regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, in my state, the state is split down the middle. Half of it is red state, half of it is blue, predominantly. But with what's going on with immigration and enforcement, they already know that those who had visas to come here and work the summer crops, and where I live is a vast, huge amount of um, uh, fruits and vegetables that have to be hand harvested. Everything from asparagus to apples and cherries, and you name it. But those who normally would come, up with their work visas from Mexico and other countries, they're already seeing these people saying, "We're not bothering to come. They're not going to show up," and they know they're going to. They already are predicting a 20 to 25% drop in the amount of people that they need to harvest the crops. Uh, you can only work so hard. You can only have one person do so many things for the day. You can't go 25% loss in total amount of manpower that you need, and it's going to get worse. I mean, that's just right now, and we're like 3 months out before the pre-harvest, and then 4 months out from the actual harvest of some of these fruits and vegetables. And there are farmers all over my state who are like, "Well, what the hell are we going to do? You can't just go out and put a job listing up, and hire anyone to do it. Most people don't want to do it. I don't know if you've ever picked asparagus, but that is some hard ass work. Down on your knees all day, bending over, picking up and picking, asparagus. Yeah, climbing trees and moving ladders all day long to pick cherries or apples. You can't get a machinery to do it. You can harvest, almonds by shaking the tree, but you can't shake an apple tree to make the apple come out of it. Dangerous for anyone to drive in your neighborhood is the weather. Weather affecting, the driving in your area, Gala. I don't know what the temperature is there, but it's 20 degrees where I am right now. It I love the little, weather thermometer thing that I have on the bottom of the screen. It says it feels colder. No shit. I got two space heaters in here on top of the central heat and air going, and I'm freezing my butt off. And I had the heat going all night long in here. I turned it up to 71. It's still not enough. But that might be just me, though. My wife calls this, my age now, that my grumpy old man years. I find the older I get, the less tolerant I am of the cold. At least it's not, not the temperature where my sister, is. It was snowing like crazy where she is. I think she said it was like -10, -15 degrees with the wind factor, the windshield factor, which is a whole other subject matter. It felt even, it was even colder. I think it was like -22 with the wind. But what do you get? I mean, she lives in the frozen tundra. The idiot drivers, and the weather here is nice. 15 below in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was talking to my friend Tim, and his family is in Maine. I guess they got hit pretty hard with this storm for snow. I mean, he didn't tell me that, but I was letting him know how bad the weather was. But we were talking about it, and most of my family is in Minnesota, Wisconsin, upper parts by Lake Michigan, so they're getting hit by what's called lake effect snow and weather conditions because this thing came down like this from Canada, but when it drops the temperature on Lake Michigan, they get that lake effect snow that comes into Minnesota, Wisconsin. drastically. I mean, it could be 55 degrees outside, and then 5 minutes later it's like 12. It is some brutal freaking weather, especially this time of year. I'm sorry that it is negative 15 degrees in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Every time it gets cold like this, I always think of the poor homeless people. I hope they can get in someplace, and be warm, and out of the weather. Here, when the temperature drops below, like right now, it's 20 degrees outside. We have two warming centers. One is a local library, and the other one is, it used to be a Knights of Columbus, but I think it's another organization who runs it now. But it's not Knights of Columbus. They moved. They built a new building down the road from it. But those are the two different warming centers. Plus, and we also have homeless, shelters, one for men and one for women. For animals too. Oh yeah. Then again, tomorrow night's trivia is the Freeway Phantom or the Highway Phantom. It's a series of unsolved murders that are commonly known as the Freeway Phantom or the Highway Phantom. That's tomorrow night's trivia. It does, Francie. They say that, I think it's like right around 3 million Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. In one medical incident or one, catastrophic, car failure or whatever, they're that close to living on the edge to being completely homeless. That's sad. And as the economy gets worse, more and more people are right there on that edge. They're a paycheck or something, in one incident, one health issue away, from being homeless. It happens. You default on a rental, agreement or a mortgage. It's almost impossible in some places to even get another place. They don't care what your reason is. You defaulted on your last rental agreement at this apartment. We're not going to rent to you. It sucks. That's why I'm always extremely thankful for what I have. I think we all should be. We all should be thankful for what we have. Fortunately, a lot of people are not. They don't think about it. Just that, how close are they really to, losing it all? The vast majority of those people will never stand up and take meaningful action to defend their civil or constitutional rights. The question we should be asking is whether it is finally stand up and put to an end to the ongoing abuses, not only for our own sake, but for the sake of others as well. We have already inflicted significant damage on our culture and our people, regardless of whether one stands politically. None of us should be able to express those views at all without the existence of this country and the freedoms it has built in upon. Those freedoms are now being steadily eroded, impacting you, me, and Native Americans alike as we sit here discussing these issues. Take that to heart. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. You have to have blinders on and your head buried in the sand and earplugs in if you haven't been listening or watching what's going on around you. Again, tomorrow night's trivia is the Freeway Phantom or Highway Phantom. It's the same series of unsolved murders. If you want to look into the trivia subject matter for tomorrow night, again, as is every week, it is at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Mountain, 6 Central, 7 o'clock Eastern, 12 midnight in the UK. That's tomorrow night's trivia. Don't know what next week's trivia is going to be yet. Still working on those. I know this much. I'm cold. I'm cold and I'm inside. I'm glad I'm not outside. Excuse me. Well, Kitty Q must be back from the store. Inner Peas, good evening. Good morning. Welcome to Page 2 News. If I missed you earlier, I'm pretty sure I did. I'm sorry. I'm going to have a homemade hot breakfast. There you go. I'm making bread today. After the stream, I'm going in the house to make bread. Homemade garlic bread. Because I'm making spaghetti for dinner tonight. One of my son's favorite meals is spaghetti. But I'm making the homemade garlic bread. It's 13 here. Supposed to start snowing any time now. Oh. Well, I hope you stay warm, Kitty Q. Making one right now. Says Inner Peas is making homemade hot breakfast. I have not made anything yet. My son should be awake now. It's 9 o'clock. He usually gets up at about 7. I'll have to make him something, I'm sure. Probably want me to make him pancakes or whatever. French toast. That's one of his favorites. And I take a pizza cutter and cut them into sticks. French toast sticks. That or pancake sticks, which is really simple. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to stop freezing my butt off and go in the house, and I got to make the bread. Got to start mixing all the bread stuff. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in this morning. I appreciate it. If you'll give this a thumbs up on the way out, I would appreciate that immensely. If you're watching this afterwards, give it a thumbs up as well. If you like the content, leave a comment if you're watching this afterwards. I'd appreciate it. But everyone, have a safe day today. And if you don't have to go out there on those roads, don't do it. Stay home. But I hope to see you all tomorrow night for trivia night. Again, we're doing the freeway phantom, highway phantom. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter if you Google one of the two, freeway or highway phantom, it should be the same case. But you all have a terrific day. Bye.